Hello YouTube and welcome to the big jungle tier list rundown from patch 26.15. In today's video, I will simply show you from every single champion how strong I would view them, which I would recommend you to play, and give some tips and tricks for some in that video. First of all, let's start with the patch. In the current patch, they adjusted Bel'Veth. I made a lot of videos and there's also a lot of videos going to come for Bel'Veth, means guides, climbing videos, educational games, and a lot of entertaining games. And when I will be climbing further up to rank 1, I will be playing a lot of Bel'Veth, especially when she shows being strong. So Bel'Veth right now, we're gonna instantly start with Bel'Veth. I would rate her A tier, for lower MMR probably B tier, simply for the reason that people cannot play the champion slow early on. You need to be extraordinary slow early on, which is going to be so difficult for some that don't respect, they don't want to give Dragon, they don't want to give Grubs, they don't want to give control, whilst you just need to accept that you're weaker, especially for early skulls, we need to give a lot. Now, we start with the champions that are about to be very strong now. We got some buffs. First of all, we got the Zac buffs. His cooldown going down from 22 to 21, so it's just a slight buff for him. Now, very important for you to understand, this is also a buff for support Zac, for top lane Zac, for mid lane Zac. In the jungle, any champion is viable depending on how fast the clear is. That means, when you buff his clear speed, let's say his W cooldown or his W damage on monsters, then the champion gets significantly stronger with that. So what you can keep in mind, what a jungler always wants is clear speed. When a jungler has a fast clear speed, he is immediately strong. You can take any champion, let's say Riven, and you giga buff her clear speed. She's gonna be one of the strongest junglers in the entire League of Legends. Even if her ganking is shit, her objectives control is shit. The main core for a jungler is the clear speed. This buff, also Maokai, it's the exact same, I will talk about in a second. This buff buffs mainly his ganking. Because if you look at his clear speed, it's not going to be 5 to 10 seconds faster if his cooldown goes down by 1 on his E. You know, like, that's not gonna... But the ganking improves a lot by this. Because re-ganking a lane, ganking long extended fights, then using E multiple times on Scuttle, let's say 2 times, you pick up the blobs and you just keep on fighting. This is his core ability in terms of fighting power. Also, ganking. Imagine a Zac and you completely remove his E. Imagine he doesn't have his E. The champion would be the most useless garbage possible. Same with Gragas not having his body slam. Like, the champion does nothing. So it's his core ability. By buffing it, you improve his ganking potential pattern. So this is really good, but it doesn't buff the most important part, his clear. So in the jungle, he gets a little bit better. So he goes from, let's jump to the tier list. Zac goes from A, B to B to A minus. He was like B and now he's like A minus, B plus. So as you can see, he does get buffed, but very, very little, because this is like, of course, a very, very small buff here. Okay, for Volibear, it's exactly the same. That's also why I talk about this so in depth, because it is very important, up to date in this current patch. His cooldown exactly the same. This buffs top lane, mid lane, support Volibear, but I would view this for jungle also does buff his clear a little bit, because Q gives him movement speed to run to the next camps. It does is an auto animation cancel, like you auto Q, like it is decent, but especially for the second path, the ganking, it does help him a lot. So this does buff Volibear decently, and I would rate him higher in the tier list now, because he was struggling a little bit and he for sure got from B tier to A tier. He's clearly A tier champion. The lower elo we go, I highly recommend play with his passive very well, that you have your stacks in the fighting. And a Volibear tip for Volibear players here: when you fight, you don't want to just Q, E, W and burst, because you don't burst, but you're good for an extended fight. Not very long, but then an extended fight. That means if you can get your E and Q in one fight twice, you're one of the strongest characters. Problem is that most times you play, let's say, Lee Sin versus Volibear. The Volibear only gets his combo off once. And then he's not that strong. But on the second time he gets his rotation off, so the second Q into E, shield with the W and everything, that's where the spike gets massively. So on longer extended fights, the champion is strong. And in low MMRs, people fight pretty weirdly. They just perma fight. That's just stat check forever, you know. That's why Volibear is stronger in lower MMR. So I see good potential for Volibear being strong in this current patch. Just depends on if the players are able to utilize it now that you have the second rotation on the fight. Going in immediately to Maokai. Maokai's monster damage mod, if I always like seeing this for the jungle, it's of course a massive buff here. And as Rygame says, Maokai has gradually faded out both on top and jungle play since our last major work on him. Now, the thing is that people kind of forgot playing him, and they don't play him for one big reason. And that's the same for Locke, I will talk about in a second. Other champions are just better. Why should you pick Maokai when you can pick Zac? Now this ability ratio goes a little bit up. Nice for Leandris and some clear speed. This does buff, as I explained earlier, this main clear, right? So this is for sure a decent buff. The problem I'm facing though is this is a buff where you get Maokai from Z, B minus to like B plus. So now he's fine, but I would still view Zac as just better. Again, why should you pick Maokai when you can pick Zac? You are still this CC chain beast monster, you are a tank, you clear objectives the same way, you clear the same way, you have the same support for your AD carry in the late game the same way. Yeah, so if you are a Maokai enthusiast, of course you can pick him up right now, similar with Volibear and Zac, but only Volibear out of those three I would say is now very optional for lower MMR tiers. Talking about the nerfs, let's first get to where we have him, beautiful Locke. Locke, I'm a big Locke enjoyer. I played like 20 games since the release in the jungle. Very strong. Now he got nerfed twice. The second time he got nerfed. And I do have to say, this nerf does hit more. As you can see, it's a lot. I would view this champion not to be... Hey, let's say it this way. He's 100% still playable in the jungle. But he does have decent weakness. For example, if you cannot one-shot the enemy Tristana instantly, you're completely useless. Like, you're literally the definition of completely useless. So, the same way here, if you want to play an AP jungler assassin style, then just pick Ekko. Why should you pick Locke when Ekko is just better? He is not even here listed in those champions. But just remember, Locke we put on now B minus tier. The problem is that Ekko, I will just rate Ekko here, generally speaking, very strong champion, is around A minus, B tier. Okay, left to right matters here, okay? I'm gonna write this down here as well. Left to right matters. Okay, so Ekko is just better than Locke. So you shouldn't pick Locke, unless you like, of course, say, yeah, but I really enjoy playing Locke, it's very fun, and of course, in some games it can be better, but that's what I face with as an issue, you know? If I look at my Smurf account, where I'm currently playing to Challenger, I was playing Locke there, and now he gets another nerf, I'm like, okay, if I need AP, I just go Ekko. Why should I go this Locke champion, right? For mid lane, I think he's still very fine, but I wouldn't necessarily face this champion as a jungle possibility. So my advice, do not pick up Locke unless you really enjoy him as a champion. Alright, let's continue with the next champion we have here, Mordekaiser. I do want to say that this tier list is a lower MMR tier list. So the tier list goes from Iron till Diamond. Okay? This is Iron till Diamond tier list. That means that if you want Masters, Grandmaster Challenger tier list, let me know in the comments below. I'm glad to be doing this as well in the future. And maybe we can split this up. Like, let me know in the comments and I will figure out something. You can even get some value if you're like a master player right now. Generally, it's just overviewing this and listen to the tips and tricks I can give, because I'm not just rating those champions. This guy is here, this guy is there. I'm telling you why and what you should be doing. All right, let's continue with Mordekaiser, the GOAT. he is very cool to play. If you ult someone, you are in a different realm. I always enjoy this when I play arena or something and I ult someone. It's so much fun. His cooldown going down on the E. This is nice for laners. For jungle, that doesn't really matter because you can say his E is his ganking, but it doesn't really help him too much because his ganking is already very weak. So you're playing a very avoidant playstyle anyways of just clearing and playing for objectives and trying to find those kills with ult. I think the main goal is to find his ult. His stats goes down again from 13 to 10. Now, Mordekaiser in the jungle, I do want to say, is always cool to play. I like the lore or the idea, the fantasy of Mordekaiser jungler. You full kill, then you ult someone, you get objective, you get control. Sadly, he's too slow. That makes him B-, C+. He's too slow in comparison to what other champions can do. That means if I play against a Gwen, right? She's outscales the Mordekaiser. She can have better skirmishes because if Mordekaiser misses his E or he doesn't get his ult off, like the champion does nothing, you know, again. So why should you pick Mordekaiser when you can pick someone else, something else? And it always goes down to that route, which generally speaking from the fantasy style is like something I like. I'm not really annoyed of that, but it's just a thing you need to keep in mind that Mordekaiser, he is very weak at ganking. So one of champion specific strength for Mordekaiser is his ganking. Okay, that means if you do now still gank, you're constantly handicapping yourself. Okay, beautiful. Let's talk about the next champion. We have here Naafiri. Naafiri simply gets nerfs. She needs nerfs. Damage goes down a lot, especially the lane Naafiris are annoying, like ADC, mid lane, and top lane Naafiris. Generally speaking, that's good. I think in the jungle she will still be strong, but more for higher elo. I think in low MMR, now with the nerfs as well, I don't think she's gonna be insanely big in the jungle. I would rate her probably B tier. Worse than Bel'Veth for sure. Now Bel'Veth is also pretty decent, but in lower MMR a bit harder. I would rate Bel'Veth a little bit higher. I'm gonna always adjust this a bit. You can skip in the end if you want the full tier list already. This is what I would rate her. She's for sure better than Mordekaiser. I think for lower MMR I would much more recommend Maokai or like the stronger version of Maokai Zac here. Okay, and then we have Sylas. God bless, this guy gets nerfed. The nerf is very slim and slow. It does slow his clear speed a bit because Q constantly uses on the clear. I think Sylas will still be God tier, like S tier, or yeah, around S tier, A+, S-, probably in higher elo. But in lower MMR, I see people struggle with him. Like, he's mechanically very hard to execute if you don't play him very, very well. So depending on the player, he could be even in lower MMR S tier. Probably not. Probably like A+ if you play really well. But on the average, he is worse than Ekko. He's worse than Zac, and he is around Zac Maokai level. Yeah, around here. He's probably pretty much in the middle of those two. Alright, these are all from the patch notes, and now we get to the real champions. We start off with Graves. Graves is straight up God tier, but in lower MMR is a little bit worse. So in lower MMR he's around A+, S-. He is still very strong, and I would still very much recommend to play him. So I would recommend to play him. His damage output, his scaling is insane. Bruiser build is really decent. I do recommend the full crit build regardless because it does outscale everything. Bruiser build is, yeah, I would need to see more sample size myself to be judging that play, right? And for the Graves enjoyers, as you know, I'm a big Graves enjoyer, and I'm considering to do a Graves cosplay after my Greece bootcamp, doing an unranked to change the series with Graves maybe. Need to be very careful with that. But yeah, I'm considering to do a Graves cosplay soon, just that you get teased here a little bit, okay? Not sure how exactly I'm gonna do it and when, but just that you have the idea. You can let me know in the comments what do you think of all of this. Alright, beautiful. Getting to the next champion, we go with the Nocturne. Always very strong champion, especially low MMR. Why? Because it's the exact same as we have here with Mordekaiser, just that the Nocturne does more. Because Nocturne's E is not really dodgeable, like Mordekaiser E. Nocturne's Q is a consistent damage for him, even if you miss. Nocturne's W is nice for survivability. And the fantasy of the champion is the same as Mordekaiser. You just full clear to full clear to full clear. Now you have ult. You use your ult, you get a nice pick. Very strong ult usage. Then you chill a bit. You have ult and flash on cooldown. You wait. Now you have ult again. Boom, you're active again. So it's the same kind of style. My recommendation with Nocturne, do not fall into the trap of ganking too much. Rather just farm, get your CS on average high, get your deaths on average low. And just wait for your ult spikes and then find even numbers or slight numbers advantages with the jungle fundamentals, and you're in a very optimal position with Nocturne here. Alright, beautiful. Let's talk about Hecarim. Hecarim, I would rate A. No, he's worse and lower, but he's very simple to learn and pick up. So I would rate him around A-. I do recommend Ekko more than playing Hecarim in terms of strength. I would also say that Volibear is a better version. I do also have to say that most people, coaching clients that I have that do play Hecarim, also are very good in playing Volibear and the other way around. So if you play one of those, I would much more prefer if you learn and master the Volibear. Do have to say long term, because Hecarim is a very simple champion, learning his champion-specific strength of invading and playing for his third Q, you kind of can focus more about understanding the jungle pretty well, simply for the fact that you don't need to focus so much on your champion mastery, since you just Q, auto, Q. Like, it's always the same, right? So you can focus about what is proper macro. Whilst in other champions, you need to think about more with, we take Graves, the champion mastery matters way more, and you need to think about the specific micro mechanical management a bit more on that. Beautiful. Let's go to the next champion, Qiyana, more of a high-elo champion. Qiyana I would rate probably around, yeah, worse than Sylas, worse than Maokai, better than Naafiri, around here. B tier. Keep in mind, especially when I say good and high elo, that means if you are good on the champion playing in lower MMR, you are a monster. Big snowball champion, big potential. Jarvan, very good low elo champion, would rate A+. There's the lethality build and the bruiser build. For lower MMR, bruiser is always more bad, is always in general more favorable in my position for you to pick. So bruiser build for Jarvan, big tip for you guys, is Sandra Sky into Black Cleaver or Eclipse into Sandra Sky into Frozen Heart into Spirit Visage. You are outscaling even people if you hit your EQ and play around your flag. If you don't know what that means, then watch the educational games I have on Jarvan. A lot to learn, a lot to take away on that side. Let's talk about Viego. Viego, very strong champion. Hail of Blades. Do not go Collector first, trust me. Just go Kraken Slayer with Hail of Blades so you can get more burst outputs. When you have your Hail of Blades proc, your Q animation goes faster, your resets goes faster because your Q animation scales with your attack speed, and when you have the attack speed from Hail of Blades, your Q is faster, so you can W auto Q auto ult very quickly with Viego. Watch my Viego games there on the Zeneros coaching account. We have a lot posted. If you play Viego well, he is one of the most rewarding champions you could ever pick out of all League of Legends characters for the jungle, and he's cool. So Viego, a little bit worse than Jarvan, probably the same, a little bit better than Volibear, I would say, at around the same skill ceiling as Volibear we have here. All right, beautiful. Talking about Talon. Talon, another very strong champion in the higher MMR tiers. I would rate him around, probably better than Qiyana, around better than Sylas. I would rate him around here. And with Talon, I would also put Kayn up there. Kayn is weaker than Talon though, just because the champion is right now not that strong. Both kind of Kayn forms, Assassin and Rust, both struggle pretty hard. I would put him probably above like B+, A- if they buff him just a little bit. Because the champion itself is pretty decent for lower MMR. Like you can just, especially the Rust form, like you can fight so well with the Red Kayn. I love it. It's when you play against lower MMR and you stat check, this is Q, W, you run away, you Q, like people give you so many opportunities to heal up and shred them. So Kayn is overall a very good lower MMR champion, but he's just weak in general right now. Poppy, macro jungle champion. If you want to play on low MMR, I wouldn't recommend. I think they're just better champions. Recommendation here is go to Jarvan, Viego, Volibear, and not for Poppy. Poppy is not that strong right now. She is probably around here from the skill ceiling. Alright, Lee Sin. Lee Sin, very mechanical champion. I have a coaching client who is insanely good mechanically, but he struggles macro-wise and mentally. My brother should just lock the fuck in, then I give him the good chance for you guys as well to be on A-, B+, and you can get this champion to A+. Not to the S tier, but to A+, especially because you can outplay people mechanically pretty well. Just need to understand the macro and then the addition from mechanic with macro together, which is not easy. Alright, talking about, let's get to Kindred. I think it's maybe smart if I do it in order for you guys, but let's do it in order for you guys, so you guys know what's about to come next, okay? Briar. Briar is, yeah, very easy loyal champion. Simply strong, not too weak. Gets kited very heavily. I think if you want to stat check people just simply, then Graves and Hecarim is just a better choice on that side. Pantheon, very decent champion to pick. Very simple to pick up. It's a little bit better than Lee Sin, a little bit better than Briar. I would rate it around this. Not as good as Hecarim because these champions are just diffing, gapping the Pantheon. But Pantheon in general, a very easy champion because you W enemies and then you Q. Like, you can't miss those. Or can you? Okay, Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai also pretty macro champion. If you do play Rek'Sai, look for level 3 ganks. Champion specific strength. You can gank a lot. You can use your flash early. Go Cosmic Insight and then play with your flash. Every time you have flash, it's almost a free kill because you just flash on them. You knock them up out of the QQQ. Like with VE, it's pretty simple. But he's not that strong right now. So I would rate him just a little bit better than Kayn, not surpassing Talon though. Shaco, overall strong champion. In the current matter, we rate him better than Bel'Veth, around B tier. AD and AP both completely fine for lower MMR. And just full clear, find sneaky catches, play for the dragons, get objective control of your boxes. He's one of the best champions in the entire League of Legends to get objective control. And low MMR people don't respect his boxes, so you can get a lot of value on that. So I would even rate AP Shaco higher than AD Shaco in lower MMR. Now we have Wukong. Wukong, very simple champion, very strong champion, better version than Hecarim, especially with your ult. If you do play Wukong, you can look up my Wukong games, play with the auto-attack reset. So E auto-attack Q, ult. Then W auto-attack Q, ult. Auto-attack Q, because you get your Q back up with your ult. Now, I do have to say that do not engage with your W. If you W and then E auto-attack Q ult, that's usually pretty bad because W is your survivability tool, first of all, and it resets your ult, so you don't want to just use it lightly. Perfect. Olaf, shit champion right now, needs to get stronger because he gets kited too much. And Olaf was strong when you level 1 invade insanely hard. Right now he is just fine with that, but yeah, he is fine with that. You can still level 1 invade enemy chickens, but if enemy is covered really well and you don't get what you want, the problem is he's too squishy and he gets kited. And you need to buy damage items, otherwise you are getting kited even further because you're useless as well now. So it's a tricky position, and you want to go Hydra with Death Stance and Hexblade, and it just takes so much time. And why should you do that if you can just pick Xin Zhao, for example, you know? So Olaf, I wouldn't rate that strong. Probably a little bit worse than Maokai. Then we have Xin Zhao, very decent champion for low MMR. We for sure would rate him. Yeah, he's just very decent. He's better than all of those picks. He is slightly worse than Xin Zhao, a little bit better, slightly worse than Viego, a little bit better than Volibear. If you play Xin Zhao, do not use your W stupidly. Just E onto the enemies, out of Q, out attack, and then Titanic Hydra reset, Q knock up into then W, and it hits at 100% rate. Same with Lee Sin. When I did the unranked to masters with Lee Sin, look at his combos. You want to increase the percentage that you hit something with that. Alright. Jax. Similar as Mordekaiser, very slow on the clear. When you play against a lot of AD champions, like you play against Viego, you play against let's say, ADCs that try to attack you all the time, and they have a lot of on-hit. Like, the enemies have Mastery, top lane, Viego, jungle, and let's say they have Xin Zhao mid lane, and Jax is gonna be amazing, brutal fighter in the jungle, so very nice counter pick as well. I would rate him not that bad, better than Olaf for sure, and Poppy's a little bit better than Olaf. We have him probably around here from the tier list. Master Yi, very strong champion right now. Would recommend to play 100%. He is a little bit worse. He's around here. Yeah, he's next to Xin Zhao. Very strong right now. Would recommend to pick him up. Kraken Rageblade. You learn how to play him well. You're gonna have a lot of fun. Simple as that. I'm very happy with the current spot Master Yi is in both high elo and low elo MMR. Vi, sneaky pick. Bruiser Vi, Lethality Vi, both is good, but Jarvan is just better. So Jarvan is the better version. Vi can pick up enemies, get picks on enemies easier, and Vi can sneak dragons better than Jarvan. Apart from that, Jarvan is just better. That's just how it is, you know. So we put him, but also keep in mind, there's still a lot of differences on the champion, and if you are a better Vi player, it doesn't mean that now your Jarvan is better than your Vi. You can still be better Vi player than you are on your Jarvan, and you can still win against Jarvan players, and you can still outclimb if you were playing a lot of Vi. My point is just that if you knew to pick them up, if you're like comparing them, if you just consider the strengths and weaknesses of each champion, because that's what is in my mind all the time. Beautiful. Let's talk about a Zed now. Zed is not that good in the jungle right now, and I would rate him around the same tier list as Mordekaiser. I would even, in fact, put... This is actually pretty accurate. Yeah, he's just not that good, but maybe there comes something worse, so I would rate him not as the worst jungler right now, but not that insane. Beautiful. Rengar, for low MMR, always was the same. He's not really getting better. He's around the same skill level as Shaco. All the other champions I would recommend more. Notice also how in lower MMR we have a lot of bruisers that are more optional to pick as assassins. Taliyah, not that strong in the jungle. Would recommend more mid lane and top lane. Completely fine though in the jungle. And it is a little bit better than Maokai. Worse than Sylas and fitting here pretty well. We have Shyvana. Shyvana we have... Shyvana is... having some problems right now. She's okay, but again, if you do want to play Shyvana, why do you not just play Jarvan or Wukong or Hecarim or Pantheon, where you're just a better bruiser? And for AP version, why not just go Maokai or Volibear or Zac? If you go like the tanky style. If you want to be this hybrid tank, sure. You can do a lot, and I don't think she's like useless. I just wouldn't see the point of picking her up. And if you're one trick on Shyvana, you really love her, for sure you can make it work, for sure you can climb. But just re-question if you really enjoy her. Like, if you don't, then pick something else, seriously. Like, or if you just like her, to play her. Like, again, you can make it work, but you just handicap yourself to a certain degree right now. I don't think the champion is Thanos, his grandmother, you know. Okay, Kha'Zix. Very strong. Would recommend. One of the strongest assassins you can play right now. Better than, around the same level as Master Yi. Can consider be ban worthy for lower MR players. Very annoying to deal with. Very strong champion. Diana is the same S tier. These two champions always are terrorizing low MR. Would always recommend to pick those. You can learn jungle so well. You can become hyper consistent. You can have insane CS. You can have low deaths. You can play for objectives. You can gank well. All these, you can invade well. These champions can do anything, especially for low MMR. Highly recommend. For example, for high MMR, these are not that strong. Why? Because, by the way, Nocturne got nerfed, so it's around this is more accurate. Why? Because Graves in higher elo is specifically insanely good at bursting and outscales everything. Now, even if you can do everything, this guy will be faster on on this damage output, so therefore has higher speed, and this is why he outscales, because he has more impact on the late game. But in low MMR, it's like, so you can view it like, imagine Grace has like 10 points, right? 10 points. And he is on 1 point, is extraordinary strong. But these two champions are on all points really decent. In higher elo, you focus so much on this 1 point that it seems unbeatable, and that's why Graves is so much better. For low MR, it's not possible to focus fully on this 1 point, because you don't really see a Graves going insane damage, one-shotting everything. Whether he's gonna play a little bit of objective, a little bit of ganking, a little bit of farming, a little bit of scaling, and because of that, then Diana Nocturne is just better. Does that make sense? I think you understand where I'm trying to get to, right? Okay, beautiful. Now we have Kindred. Kindred is... yeah, fine. Not really broken. A little bit worse than Bel'Veth. Okay to pick. Not necessarily insane, but completely fine. If you like her, sure. Trundle is shit right now. One of the worst junglers you could pick. I just think that almost anything else is better than him. Like, scaling-wise, ganking-wise, clearing-wise, objective control-wise. He doesn't have a flash to disengage. He cannot invade very well. He is pretty volatile. He is squishy. Probably okay, but I would much rather just pick any of the other champions. And also what I like right now in the current meta is that I don't even think anything is like shit. I would even put him on Z tier because I wouldn't even say anything is shit. You know? He's just not good, but the other champions are just better because all of them are also not shit. You know what I mean? Rumble is shit though. Rumble is nothing. Yeah, Rumble is shit. What is Rumble gonna do? He's no he has no dash, can't survive, is squishy, doesn't have enough damage to burst, doesn't have enough damage to poke, doesn't have good vision control, doesn't have good objective control, cannot gank well, his clear's below average. Like, bro, at this point just send it, you know? Play something else. Gwen also shit right now, but better than Rumble because of all her nerfs. She is just not as good, I would say. Yeah, this is probably pretty accurate. Trundle is... I'd rather play Gwen than Trundle though, to be honest, if I was playing now. Yeah. Okay, Elise, fine champion, completely fine. You can pick her up. You can 1v9 on her, always decent champion. You can tower dive well, play for your team, play in even numbers, have a lot of skirmishes, go for invades, play aggressive, play annoyingly. You are a spider, you're a pig. Play for that. Morgana, shit right now in comparison to Ekko and yeah, worse than Sylas, clearly. Also notice how most healers I do, you have like the rank of each AP champion because they're in the end similar. They just poke and burst. That's all what AP champions do. And the one is just doing more than the other. Gragas, for example, very shit champion in the jungle right now. Also around Z tier, I would say B. Because why should you pick Gragas? You know, like his cooldown on his E is too high to be a good jungler. He has burst, but his poke is non-existent. Like you can't really poke with your Q. It takes way too long with all the cooldowns. So you burst, and when you burst and you're too squishy, like then just pick Ekko again. You just do the same, and you just can always disengage. Replay, rewind. Remix, replay. Okay. Lillia, completely fine right now. I think Lillia is actually strong right now. For lower MMR, better, around the same tier as Elise. Go the tankier version with Liandry's Riftmaker. Play for your movement speed passive, long extended fights. You're going to do amazing with Lillia. Would recommend to pick her up for lower MMR. She's also very fun. If you want to get good on Lillia, watch Kirei, who's one of the best Lillia players for those, by the way. Okay. Nidalee, there's a lot of good Nidalee players in high MMR. For low MMR, she is too skillful. So she's for sure worse than all of these champions, actually. And she's around here. She's just pretty difficult to pick up. And even if you do, then Lillia just has more impact on those. Same with Brand. Wouldn't recommend to pick. Evelyn, wouldn't recommend to pick right now. Needs to get buffed. As you can see, the skill difference from each rank, they are pretty close to each other. Like, you can pick all of them. I wouldn't even say, like, if you pick Brand, you're cooked. If you pick Evelyn, you're cooked. I think you can play any of those champions. Just from the tier list, you make it harder the lower we go. For example, if you're one-trick Viego, you're going to have a way easier time climbing in rank than if you're one-trick Brand in the jungle right now, or one-trick Evelyn. Of course, it can work, no problem. If you don't climb, you're just not good enough and need to learn jungle more. But you do handicap yourself to a certain degree. For Zyra, similar than Brand, just a little bit better than Brand, better than Nidalee as well. It's more around this, better than them, better than Maokai. Yeah, this is pretty accurate. Better than Morgana. Morgana is a little bit worse. This is pretty accurate here now. Yeah. Nunu, easy, low LMMR champion, but in general just not that strong. I would rather pick Zac than any of these other champions. I would actually say it's around here after, a little bit better than Maokai though. Ivern, easy champion. Chill champion, very relaxing champion, very detilting champion. Recommend to play him, but yeah, he's for sure not better than Zac. Zac has more chain CC, and Ivern does help the team decently, but you can also help the team without the healing and shielding, but just CCing or one-shotting them, you know. So he's fine. You can pick him up, completely valid. B tier, absolutely okay. Fiddlesticks is not that good right now. I would say same clear as same skill, not skill, but same strength as Brand, Poppy, or Nidalee. So I will put him around here. And again, for all those B champions, you can be comfortable picking. For Z champions and B minus, I would be really reconsidering it. Like with Shyvana, what I explained. With A tier, go for it, man. You're doing giga good. And S tier, you are in a good hands. You're really good hands. Warwick, also another S tier champion for low MMR. I would say A plus probably. He's around here, a bit better than Xin. We have good potential of climbing with him. The lower we go, so this is like especially for Iron until Gold, he gets S tier, and above Gold he's like A tier. Yeah, this is pretty well. If you play Warwick, don't get baited from your W too much. Stay consistent with clearing, with correct itemization, get your objectives, and if you get some kills, then get some value out of it. Big tip for Warwick. If you get kills, do not just, okay, you got a kill, now keep chasing the next guy and the next guy and the next guy, and eventually you die, and then you chase the guys again. No. You get a kill. Now you got value. Okay, what can you consume? Dragon, Herald, can you get something out of it? And then you take that, you base, you chill. You got your camps, now you chill. And then you go for the next play. And when you've ult on cooldown, you play way more respectful with Warwick. Alright, beautiful. Let's talk about Katos. Stronger than Brand, stronger than... He's around here. Stronger than Fiddlesticks. No, he's also better than them. He's worse than Sylas, for sure. Worse than Taliyah. Katos has an insane clear speed. So go for like full clear into invading before the enemies are done. In low MMR, I see so many coaching clients, by the way. You could easily climb by just being faster than the enemy jungle because they struggle with the clear. You go practice tool, you got your clear, the enemies don't. So you are fast on the clear, now you invade enemy blue buff. You smite that away as well. They're already cooked. And you are in a fabulous position. Beautiful. Now we talk about Udyr. Udyr sucks right now, needs to get buffs. I would rate him at the same tier list as, yeah, a little bit worse than Evelynn. A little bit better than Morgana. Is okay, but sucks in comparison to Zac. Then we have Nico, sucks right now, almost C tier. I have not seen ever a Nico jungle. I don't see how this is viable if you compare it again with the true AP champions like Diana, Ekko, some Volibear a little bit, like some AP value Lillia or Elise. Now the tanks here. First, let's take a look at Skarner. Skarner is okay. Again, completely fine to pick. Worse than Zac, worse than Ivern. He's around here from the strength. And Ramos is also around here. Sejuani is worse. I would say Sejuani is kind of shit as well. Better than Shyvana, better than them, better than those. She's around here. Better than Nidalee as well. Better than Brand, better than Pop. No, she's around here, yeah. Yeah, better than... she is actually... She's the same as Maokai. She's the exact same as Maokai. Now I got it. And Amumu is also the same, just a bit better. Amumu is around... between Zyra and Cactus. Yeah. This is the entire list. This is the entire list. Now, as you can see, one more time to run it down for you guys. You can play all B champions. At B minus... so the negative parts, like around this area, I would be a bit careful with picking those because you do handicap yourself to a certain degree now. Qiyana, looking at this again, is probably a bit better around here, yeah. So, yeah. Z tier, don't pick this shit. Why should you? Just pick better champions. A tier, you are in very good hands. highly recommend to become the GOAT on those. If you struggle with climbing, then learn and get better with climbing. That's why I also offer the complete climbing course. It's in the description. If you want to get better, learn to get better instead of swapping the champion. Very important. And with S tier, you are in God's hands. And in God tier, there's nothing. Who would have thought? Much love, and I wish you a beautiful day. Hope you enjoyed the video. And I kiss your hearts. Make sure to subscribe.